What are the most problematic cars that are designed to fail? That's what we're going to find out. Welcome to Car Help Corner, where we help you, the consumer, master the process of car buying and car ownership. Some new vehicles are so problematic, unreliable, and incredibly complex that you will likely be in a world of pain if you get stuck owning one past the warranty period. But there are some vehicles that even go well beyond that are borderline unrepairable, are designed to fail early, and have little hope of lasting beyond 60,000 miles or 100,000 kilometers. And we're going to go over those vehicles right now, starting with the first one that falls into this category, which is the Jeep Wrangler and Grand Cherokee 4xe. Jeeps generally have a reputation for being fairly unreliable. Their quality has taken a significant nosedive in recent years, thanks to severe cost-cutting measures from Stellantis. But this unreliability is taken to a whole nother level when it comes to Jeep's 4xe models. Jeep's plug-in hybrid system is easily one of the worst on the market, frequently subject to hybrid battery failure, power inverter failure, charging system problems, and constant electrical issues which are often challenging to diagnose and repair. Engine problems, transmission failure, and air suspension failure on the Grand Cherokees are also quite common. It is quite clear that these vehicles are not built to last, endure heavy abuse, or withstand high mileage. The incredible complexity and design-to-fail nature of their engineering essentially makes them disposable vehicles that should be dumped before the warranty expires. Otherwise, you are asking for a never-ending long-term repair nightmare. The next vehicle is another extremely popular one, but one that's unfortunately not designed for longevity, and that vehicle is the Nissan Rogue. Like Stellantis, Nissan has been on a devastating cost-cutting pathway for years now that has brought the company to near collapse and severely damaged the brand's reputation for reliability. Another example of how Nissan has chosen to put reliability on the back burner is with their overly complicated drivetrains. The latest generation Rogue uses a small 1.5-liter 3-cylinder turbocharged engine with incredibly complicated variable compression technology that's destined to become a post-warranty repair nightmare. It also uses a Jatco brand CVT continuously variable transmission, which, with Nissan, is historically known to be very fragile and failure-prone, sometimes while still under warranty. Unfortunately, these engines and transmissions are not made for longevity or ease of service. They are basically ticking time bombs that are going to become a repair nightmare that they basically result in the vehicle becoming junk when they do fail, which means you'll be stuck with a worthless pile of metal. Premature engine or transmission failure is not always the result of complexity. Sometimes it's just a result of poor quality engineering, which is the case with the next group of vehicles on the list, which are any Hyundai or Kia with the GDI NU or Theta 2-liter and 2.4-liter 4-cylinder engines. These engines were mostly used on Hyundai and Kias made between 2011 to 2022, and the 2-liter engine is still being used on new models like the Hyundai Kona, the Kia Seltos, and Kia Soul. These are some of the most failure-prone engines in the auto industry, prone to excessive oil consumption, engine knocking, stalling, engine fires, and complete engine failure. Proper maintenance makes no difference, so if you have a defective engine, it will fail regardless. Over a span of a decade, there have been over 60 recalls involving these engines, covering over 10 million Hyundai and Kia vehicles, and even class action lawsuits. So buying any Hyundai or Kia, new or used, with one of these engines is just asking for trouble. The next vehicle doesn't just experience one major failure that shortens its life, it's a whole bunch of smaller problems that add up to one major headache. and that headache is the Dodge Hornet. Although the Hornet is a relatively new vehicle, it has already had a rough go and is developing a reputation for poor build quality. Despite its short time on the market, there have been nearly 70 technical service bulletins and 10 recalls. Most of the problems are electrical and computer related, often beginning within weeks of ownership. The Hornet is basically just a rebadged Alfa Romeo, a brand infamous for poor reliability, and the Hornet is living up to that reputation. As mentioned, Stellantis has been on a ruthless cost-cutting pathway for years now, and the quality of their vehicles have taken a major nosedive. So even though these may look tempting with enormous discounts and deals, don't be fooled, because in the long run, it will come back to bite you. The next vehicles on the list have a very high risk for premature engine and transmission failure, and these are any General Motors vehicles with the Ecotec V8 engines. Even though General Motors has been using more or less the same V8 engines in their trucks and full-sized SUVs, the 5.3 and 6.2-liter Ecotec V8s, these engines are prone to premature lifter failure, which can destroy the engine. This has been a major problem ever since GM introduced its cylinder deactivation technology over a decade ago. And despite many updates over the years, engine failures continue to happen on the new models, which is just inexcusable. To make matters worse, these same vehicles are also prone to transmission problems with the 10-speed automatics, a transmission which GM shares with Ford, which also has the same failures on the F-150s. Needless to say, given how long these problems have been going on for, getting long reliable service out of these vehicles past the warranty is a real gamble. Of course, no vehicles are a bigger risk to own beyond the warranty period than many European brand luxury vehicles. Once the warranty expires, many of these vehicles start to develop frequent repair problems, parts begin to disintegrate, and they become so unbearably expensive to repair that they basically become next to worthless. And no vehicle is a better example of this than the Land Rover Range Rover. The Range Rover truly takes the crown for unreliable rolling disasters. Just about every major component on these, from the electronics to the air suspension, the transmissions and engines, are prone to premature failure, often getting increasingly worse with age. And as mentioned, the cost of repair is so outrageous out of warranty that there's little sense in pouring money into these, especially when the resale value tanks to nearly nothing. This is a major problem with all Land Rovers and other similar European luxury vehicles. They look nice, they feel nice, but they are often rolling money pits with little hope for longevity. Another vehicle that comes extremely close to this is the next one on the list, which is the Maserati Grecale. Like other Stellantis brands, Maserati has been on a downward spiral with miserable build quality and plummeting value. The Grecale is the brand's least expensive model, built on an Alfa Romeo platform and made from various Stellantis parts and drivetrain components that it even shares with Dodge and Jeep. And the result is a true disaster. Atrocious build quality, never-ending electrical problems, and frightening repair costs. When I test drove one a while back, I truly felt that it was the worst of both worlds. A bland, generic SUV with no real sense of luxury or specialness because of its lower price point, but with all the problems, the costs, and the headaches that come with owning an expensive Italian brand like Maserati. It's no wonder why Maseratis become next to worthless after a few years. No one wants to touch them, and they are not even worth the cost of the parts and labor needed to service them. And these concerns are not only a problem with traditional internal combustion engine vehicles. Many newer electrified vehicles have very similar problems, including the next ones on the list, which are any of Audi's first-generation e-tron models. Although EVs are theoretically less complicated with fewer parts and maintenance items than internal combustion engine vehicles, The reality can be a different story for certain vehicles. Audi's gas vehicles are generally known for being fairly unreliable and extremely complicated to repair, and the electric e-tron models are really no different. The first generation e-tron, the e-tron Q8, and the e-tron Q4 suffer from countless electrical problems, cooling system issues, and even complete motor failure, often at very low mileage. Audi is relatively new to EVs, so it's no surprise that they are having problems with this new, unproven technology. And another great example of this in the electric car space is Mercedes with its EQ models. Like the Audi e-trons, these vehicles are relatively new with unproven technology from a brand that doesn't exactly have a lot of experience building EVs, but does have a lot of experience building unreliable vehicles, and that's a recipe for disaster. The EQ models, which include the EQB, the EQE, and EQS, are prone to numerous electrical problems, motor failure, and even high voltage battery failure. Imagine what these repairs would cost if they were out of warranty. They would likely be so outrageous that they would result in the vehicle just becoming scrapped. Being unreliable due to complicated buggy technology is one thing, but how about a vehicle that's just destined to fail from the get-go? Well, that seems to be the case with the next vehicle on the list, which is the VinFast VF8. I don't blame you if you're saying Vin what? VinFast is a new manufacturer from Vietnam, which recently started selling EVs in North America. Buying a brand new, highly complex vehicle from a brand new car company that has no reputation and no track record is a major risk in and of itself. And it seems that those risks and concerns are actually legitimate. As reported by the BBC, a former chassis engineer for the company recently came out claiming that VinFast was cutting corners with safety and keeping costs down, resulting in low quality parts failing in as little as 25,000 kilometers when they should last 150,000 kilometers, less than 5 times the normal lifespan. The engineer, who sadly was eventually fired for his whistleblowing, came out claiming that he believed VinFast was not just compromising quality, but actually endangering lives. NHTSA is investigating VinFast for safety issues, and even one death has already been reported from California involving a family of 4. Now, I know VinFast is trying very hard to attract new buyers by offering extremely attractive lease deals and even a 10-year warranty. But let's be realistic. Who really knows if this company is even going to be around long enough to even honor that warranty? Never mind the headaches of trying to get a vehicle like this repaired when it has major failures, and if there are very few service centers and little parts or repair support. And now that we have reports of intentional poor build quality, well, I don't think we really need a crystal ball to see that the long-term prospects of these vehicles are not great. Another major issue that really concerns me with a lot of these brand new, low production, short-lived electric vehicles is whether they're even going to be repairable in the long run. Unreliable designs and complicated, expensive repairs are one thing, but these EVs have a bigger problem, a form of planned obsolescence. EV technology is evolving very fast, and these manufacturers are releasing these EVs knowing full well that their technology will be dated and obsolete within a few years, with no plan for providing long-term servicing and parts support. So anyone who plans to buy and own one of these short-lived EVs will likely find themselves in a very tough spot after several years down the road, which is why most of them really only make sense to lease for 3 to 4 years at the most and then just return. And as for those who keep them well beyond that, well, hopefully the aftermarket will swoop in and save the day for these owners. But given how low volume these vehicles are, Who really knows? So after watching this, what are your thoughts on purchasing or leasing any of these vehicles? And if you already own any of these vehicles, what has your experience been like? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. You can also take a look at my other videos by clicking the links up in the corner. You can follow me on Instagram. And if you need any additional car buying advice, recommendations, or help with getting a great deal on your next new car purchase, make sure to visit carhelpcan.com. Thanks so much for watching and see you next time.